Hello, friend. Welcome back to a quiet corner of the universe where everything slows down, drifts softly, and nothing demands anything from you. I'm glad you're here. Maybe today was a lot. Maybe your mind is still buzzing like a little satellite that doesn't know how to power down. Or maybe you're just someone who enjoys ending the day floating among stars instead of scrolling through more noise. Wherever you're coming from, you don't have to do anything right now. Just settle in, find a comfortable spot, and allow your breathing to become calm, smooth, and gentle. The rest, I'll take care of. Tonight, we're not racing through space. We're drifting, gliding, as softly as moonlight sliding across a quiet ocean. We'll wander through planets, moons, drifting clouds of cosmic dust, and we'll pause whenever something beautiful catches our attention. This isn't a lesson. This isn't a lecture. Think of it as a slow walk through the universe, barefoot, unhurried, half dreaming. As your body becomes heavier and your thoughts become lighter, imagine the gravity around you loosening its grip. Imagine yourself rising, slowly, weightlessly, as if a gentle tide is lifting you into the night sky. Tonight's story begins not with Earth, not with the sun, but with something much quieter. A memory. A memory of the universe when it was still young, when dust and ice floated freely, bumping softly into one another, long before planets were born. Close your eyes for a moment, if they aren't already drifting closed, and imagine this. The early solar system was a swirling cloud, thin, pale, and silent. Nothing more than stardust and frozen grains, dancing in a slow-motion storm around a newborn sun. Over millions of years, this dust began to cling together, attracted by the gentlest pull of gravity. What began as powder became pebbles, pebbles became boulders, and boulders became the seeds of worlds. Every planet we know, from blazing Mercury to icy Neptune, started as tiny grains in that ancient cloud. And tonight, we're going to follow those grains through time. Not quickly, not urgently, but softly, one sleepy fact at a time. So take one deeper breath, let it fall out slowly, and allow yourself to drift. Our journey begins with sunlight, not the bright, sharp sunlight we see from Earth, but with the newborn light that first spilled out into a dark universe. Light so young, so gentle, that even the shadows hadn't learned their shapes yet. As we float closer to the sun, not in heat, but in imagination, you'll feel a kind of warmth inside your thoughts, a warmth that says, you're safe, you're here, you can rest. Because from this moment on, nothing is urgent, nothing is loud, nothing is expected of you. We're just drifting, you and I, through a solar system that has been dreaming for billions of years. And our first stop is a place where heat is born, where energy is shaped, where every sunrise on every world begins. The sun's core, but we'll move gently, slowly, as if carried by a solar breeze. Let's begin. As we drift closer to the sun, the space around us doesn't grow blinding or dangerous. Not here, not in this quiet version of the universe where imagination softens every edge. Instead, the light feels warm, like a soft blanket pulled gently over your shoulders. It doesn't burn, it glows, it whispers. Most of the time, when we picture the sun, we imagine a roaring furnace, violent and unforgiving. But in this slow, dreamy journey, we're seeing a different side of it, its heartbeat. Deep inside the sun, far beneath the glowing surface we see from Earth, the core is alive with quiet pressure. Atoms are pressed so tightly together that they fuse into something new. Hydrogen becomes helium, light becomes heat, and energy begins a journey that will take thousands of years just to escape to the surface. It's strange to think about, isn't it? That the sunlight warming your skin on an afternoon walk may have started its life before the earliest human civilizations existed. It was created in a place millions of kilometers away, and only now, after wandering patiently through layers of plasma, finally reaches Earth. But here, as we float nearby, the sun doesn't feel hurried. Its surface ripples gently, almost like water. Golden currents drift across it, curling and uncurling like sleepy waves. You might notice that some parts of the sun's surface look darker, sunspots, not cold, not dangerous, just a little cooler than the glowing plasma around them. They're like freckles on a star, little marks left by magnetic storms spiraling through the sun's upper layers. If you listen closely, not with ears, but with imagination, you might even sense the way the sun vibrates. It hums constantly, like a drum with a billion tiny hands tapping against it. These vibrations ripple through its surface in slow, rolling waves. Scientists study these tremors the way geologists study the Earth's interior. Every ripple, every oscillation tells a story about what lies underneath. And even though the sun feels enormous and overwhelming from afar, right now it feels calm, not frightening, just endlessly, peacefully alive. As we drift away, the sun becomes softer in the distance, a warm lantern hanging in a dark sea, a reminder that even the brightest fires can feel gentle from far enough away. Leaving the sun behind, the temperature of space doesn't drop in a rush. It fades gradually, like the cooling of a cup of tea left on a windowsill. Ahead of us, scattered like pearls on black velvet, lie the planets, each one carrying secrets, winds, storms, scars, and stories billions of years old. Our first stop is the smallest of them all, a world so close to the sun that it is locked in a constant battle between freezing darkness and scorching heat. Mercury, a place where shadows hold hidden ice, where days stretch in strange rhythms, and where the sky is quiet enough to hear the echo of sunlight itself. Let's drift a little closer, slowly, gently, as if space itself is carrying us forward in the palm of its hand. Mercury is waiting. As we float away from the warm glow of the sun, Mercury rises into view like a small ancient stone resting in an endless night. It doesn't shine the way Earth or Venus does. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't boast. Mercury is quiet, almost shy, a lonely traveler circling in the sun's closest embrace. From far away, it looks smooth, round, and pale, but as we drift nearer, the details sharpen. Its surface is covered in craters, each one a tiny memory of collisions that happened long before any form of life existed on Earth. Some of these craters are so old that they predate Earth's continents. They are scars from a time when the solar system was young and restless. Even now, Mercury carries the stillness of a world that has seen everything and changed very little. Imagine standing there, not in danger, not in heat, but in the safety of imagination. You'd see a horizon untouched by wind or weather. There are no clouds on Mercury, no oceans, no storms, just rock, silence, and sunlight. But here's the strange part. Mercury, despite being closest to the sun, holds cold secrets. Some of its craters near the poles are so deep, so permanently shadowed, that sunlight has never touched them. Not once, not in billions of years. Inside those shadows, temperatures plunge so low that ice, yes, ice can survive. Frozen water hiding just a few hundred miles from a star capable of melting metal. Mercury is a world of opposites. On the sunlit side, temperatures soar high enough to melt lead. On the dark side, they drop so sharply that oxygen would turn solid. Day and night on Mercury follow a strange rhythm. A single day, sunrise to sunrise, lasts longer than an entire Mercury year. The planet spins so slowly that a person standing on its surface could watch the sun rise, pause, reverse direction a little, then rise again. It is a world where time behaves differently, almost lazily, as if Mercury itself has no urgency at all. And then there's its atmosphere, or rather, the ghost of one. Mercury doesn't have a thick, breathable sky like Earth or the swirling clouds of Jupiter. Instead, it has a thin, wisp-like exosphere made of atoms knocked loose from its surface by solar wind and micrometeorites. These particles drift and bounce like faint glitter suspended in empty space. Some scientists call it a surface-bound comet tail. beautiful, subtle, and fleeting. As we float just above the rocky plains, you might notice something else. Mercury's core is enormous, so large, in fact, that it takes up nearly 80% of the planet's radius. It's a metal-heavy world with a thin crust stretched tightly around a heart of iron. Why? That's still a mystery. Maybe Mercury once had a thick mantle that was blasted away by a colossal impact. Or perhaps the early sun's fierce heat stripped away the lighter materials before Mercury fully formed. Whatever the truth is, Mercury remains one of the most unusual worlds in the solar system, a tiny, dense survivor of a violent, chaotic past. And as we drift higher, leaving it behind, you might feel a little awe, a quiet respect for a world that never asked to be dramatic, yet ended up being one of the strangest planets we know. Ahead of us now is Venus, brilliant, glowing, and deceptive. A world that looks soft and golden from afar, but hides crushing pressure and ancient mysteries beneath its clouds. We'll approach slowly, gently, like gliding toward a lantern wrapped in fog. Whenever you're ready, we can continue onward. As Mercury fades behind us, a soft glow begins to rise ahead. At first, it's gentle, like the warm shimmer of a distant lantern caught behind a curtain. Then slowly it brightens, expands, until Venus emerges, wrapped entirely in a blanket of golden white clouds. From afar, Venus looks peaceful, calm, elegant, a perfect sphere glowing like polished ivory drifting through space. If you didn't know better, you might think it was the twin sister of Earth, similar size, similar gravity, almost the same shape and weight, a world that looks familiar yet feels unreachable. But the closer we drift, the more the illusion melts away. Venus is beautiful, yes, but it is a dangerous kind of beauty, a world that hides its true nature behind a veil. Its clouds are not soft or gentle, they are made of sulfuric acid, thick, swirling, and corrosive. They bend sunlight, scatter it, and glow from within like fire trapped beneath silk. Beneath those cloudy layers, the surface is a furnace. Temperatures rise high enough to melt lead. Air presses downward with the weight of a deep ocean, crushing enough to flatten a submarine. Winds in the upper atmosphere whip around the planet at hundreds of kilometers per hour, faster than the planet itself rotates. Venus spins so slowly, so strangely, that a single Venusian day is longer than its entire year. And more than that, it spins backward. On Venus, the sun rises in the west and sets in the east. But in truth, the rays that reach the surface are dim, barely enough light to cast a shadow, filtered through layers of toxic haze. And yet, despite all this chaos, Venus is hypnotic. The planet pulses with ancient mysteries. Volcanoes rise from the ground, massive, towering structures, some dormant, some possibly still active. Lava plains stretch out for thousands of miles. Craters appear soft around the edges, worn down by the tremendous heat. Venus is not dead. It is restless, alive, breathing in ways we are only beginning to understand. As we float through the upper clouds, far above the crushing pressure, the view is unexpectedly serene. Thick cloud decks roll below us like a golden ocean. Lightning flashes inside them silently, illuminating entire regions for a heartbeat. Wind currents carve swirling patterns, vast spiraling storms that rotate in slow motion across the planet's hidden face. At about 50 kilometers above the surface, the atmosphere becomes surprisingly Earth-like, cooler, gentler, almost calm. Some scientists once imagined floating cities drifting here, hovering above the deadly world below, suspended in a sea of clouds. But for now, Venus remains a place we can only observe from afar, a warning and a wonder, a reminder of how delicate planetary balance can be. As we drift away, its glowing sphere gradually dims into the darkness. The clouds soften, the golden light fades. Ahead of us, a smaller blue and white marble begins to appear, a world we know better than any other, a world filled with oceans, forests, storms, and life. Our home, Earth. When you're ready, we'll approach it slowly, as if seeing it for the first time. As Venus fades behind us, a soft blue glow begins to rise in the distance. At first, it looks like a tiny pearl, delicate, quiet, almost shy. But with every passing moment, the colors sharpen, the details grow, and suddenly the Earth appears in full view, a world overflowing with motion, color, and life. No matter how many times it is seen, Earth always feels like a miracle. Swirls of white clouds drift gently across deep blue oceans. Continents glow in shades of green, gold, and brown. Storm systems rotate like slow, peaceful dancers. Lightning flickers inside distant clouds, tiny sparks that cannot be heard but can be felt. From here, Earth almost looks fragile, a thin shell of atmosphere hugging the surface, barely thicker than the skin of an apple. It is this delicate blanket of air that holds the warmth, shelters life, and protects everything living beneath it. As we drift closer, the soundless beauty becomes more vivid. You can see ribbons of rivers carving the land, mountain ranges rising like frozen waves, and deserts glowing softly under the thin golden sunlight. Oceans stretch endlessly, reflecting blue light back into space like a giant shimmering mirror. Earth rotates slowly beneath us, one half drenched in sunlight, the other wrapped in night. On the night side, cities glitter like constellations, lights cluster along coastlines, glow across continents, a map of humanity shining into the void. It is peaceful from here, no noise, no traffic, no chaos, just millions of warm lights blinking softly in the dark. Earth isn't just a planet, it's a sanctuary, a rare oasis in a universe filled mostly with silence, ice, and fire. As we drift through the upper atmosphere, the blue fades into darker shades, teal, navy, indigo, until finally dissolving into the pure black of space. Auroras swirl beneath us like living paint, curtains of green and violet rising and falling as particles from the sun touch Earth's magnetic field. It is one of the most breathtaking sights in the solar system, colors moving like slow, celestial flames across the polar skies. From this height, everything that ever lived, ever breathed, ever loved exists on that thin blue surface. Every forest, every ocean, every mountain, every memory, all wrapped in a single glowing sphere. And in this quiet place, far above the noise of daily life, Earth feels peaceful, soft, and welcoming. We drift past the clouds, past the gentle curve of the horizon, and back out into open space, leaving our home world calm and shining behind us. Ahead, the darkness stretches forever, silent, vast, unbroken. But there are still worlds out there waiting, still mysteries to explore, still stories hidden in the cold shadows of the solar system. And when you're ready, we'll continue the journey. Leaving Earth behind, we drift gently through the thin edge of its gravity, and ahead of us rises a world that feels both familiar and strangely lonely. The moon. From far away, it looks like a quiet, pale lantern hanging in the dark, calm, steady, unchanged for billions of years. But as we approach, the details sharpen. Deep craters, long shadows, and ancient scars etched into stone older than any life on Earth. There is no sound here, no wind, no air, just endless silence resting on a world frozen in time. The sunlight hits the surface without mercy, fierce, bright, sharp. Every rock stands out in crisp contrast, every shadow is pitch black. The moon is a place of extremes, split between burning daylight and icy darkness. As we glide closer, the rough terrain stretches out beneath us, craters overlapping like fingerprints of ancient impacts, long ridges spreading across the landscape like wrinkles of time, and great seas, not of water, but of dark volcanic stone known as Maria. These plains formed billions of years ago when magma rose from the moon's wounded surface after giant asteroids struck. Their shapes still remain, quiet reminders of the violence that once shaped this gentle-looking world. Near the horizon, the Earth rises, not the sun, but our own home planet. A blue marble hovering silently above the grey desert, It is one of the most beautiful sights in the solar system. Soft blue oceans glowing against black space, white clouds swirling like slow brushstrokes, and the fragile halo of atmosphere wrapping the entire world like a thin veil. From here, Earth looks peaceful, delicate, alive. Astronauts once described the feeling of seeing Earthrise, a sudden understanding that every person, every memory, every dream exists on that tiny sphere, floating alone in darkness. We drift lower toward the moon's surface. Dust lies untouched for millions of years. If a single footprint is made here, it will stay forever, unmoved, unchanged. Ancient craters cast long shadows across the ground. Small particles sparkle under the harsh sunlight, like crushed diamonds scattered across grey sand. There is a strange beauty in this silence, a reminder that not all worlds need oceans or forests to feel majestic. Some are beautiful simply in their stillness. As we rise again, the moon slowly falls away beneath us, its pale surface fading into distance until it becomes a soft silver disk once more. Earth glows behind it, and ahead, a red spark waits quietly in the darkness. Mars, a world of dust storms, frozen deserts, and ancient mysteries. As we leave the moon behind, a faint red glow appears in the distance, soft at first, like a distant ember floating in the dark. But as we get closer, the glow intensifies, deepening into rusty orange, burnt copper, and shades of red untouched for billions of years. Mars, a world that once dreamed of oceans, rivers, and maybe life. Now it is a quiet desert, frozen beneath a thin pink sky. We drift into orbit, and the details sharpen. Vast canyons slicing across the planet with the depth of continents, mountains so tall they pierce the clouds of dust, and craters stretching wider than entire countries on Earth. The first thing we see is Olympus Mons, the largest volcano in the solar system. It rises 3 times higher than Mount Everest and spreads across the surface like a continent-sized shield frozen in time. No eruptions, no smoke, just a silent giant that once held fire in its heart. As we move across the horizon, dark patterns swirl across the ground, signatures of ancient lava flows, winds and storms that have shaped the planet for millions of years. Below us, the legendary Valles Marineris yawns open, a canyon so immense that if it were placed on Earth, it would stretch from Karachi to Istanbul. Its walls fall in steep shadows, its floor hidden under layers of dust and geological secrets. The wind on Mars doesn't speak loudly. There's almost no air for sound to travel, but it moves the dust slowly, softly, quietly, painting the surface with new patterns each year. We descend gently towards the surface. Red dust dances across the ground. Small stones, sharp and ancient, lie scattered across flat plains. Shadows stretch far across the desert under the thin, weakened sunlight. The temperature here shifts violently, hot enough to warm a rock during the day, cold enough to freeze steel at night. The sky above us is a pale orange, fading into a quiet blush near the horizon. No birds, no clouds, no sound, only silence deep enough to feel endless. Yet beneath this silence, there are whispers of a different past. Dry riverbeds snake across the landscape, curving, branching, merging, shapes that only flowing water can carve. Cracked lake beds glimmer under the light, as if waiting for water to return. Mars, at its heart, feels like a world that once lived and now dreams quietly beneath the dust. As we rise again, the sunlight falls across the planet, turning red deserts into a golden-orange glow. The shadows soften, the silence deepens, and Mars becomes a distant red star behind us once more. Ahead waits a giant, a planet of storms, lightning, and swirling clouds the size of worlds. Jupiter, a place where nature roars and the sky never stops moving. As Mars fades behind us, a faint glow begins to shimmer in the distance. Not red, not blue, but a deep golden white, pulsing softly, like a distant lighthouse in the cosmic ocean. The closer we drift, the larger it becomes, until suddenly the light is no longer a point, but an entire world. Jupiter, a planet so massive it could swallow every other planet in the solar system and still have room to spare. A world made not of rock or soil, but of clouds, storms, and endless swirling winds. Before we even arrive, Jupiter fills our view, a colossal sphere streaked with bands of cream, amber, gold, and copper. Its clouds churn in spirals, twist into ribbons, collide in storms larger than continents. Nothing in the solar system moves like Jupiter. Nothing breathes like this giant of gas. The planet doesn't have a solid surface, only layers upon layers of atmosphere piled into a depth so vast that no human mind can truly imagine its bottom. As we glide closer, one feature dominates the horizon, the Great Red Spot. A storm the size of Earth 3 times over. It has been raging for at least 350 years, and possibly much longer. A swirling vortex of crimson, rose, and burnt orange, turning endlessly in Jupiter's endless night. Lightning crackles deep inside the clouds, so powerful that a single bolt could power entire cities. But no sound reaches us. There is no air between us and the storm to carry a single whisper. Jupiter spins faster than any other planet, rotating once every 10 hours. That rapid spin stretches its clouds into long, elegant bands, each one a jet stream more powerful than all earthly winds combined. We drift slightly farther out, away from the hypnotic storms, and that's when the real beauty appears. The moons, like a miniature solar system of their own, orbiting the giant planet. 4 of them shine brightest. The Galilean moons. Io, a world of fire. Volcanoes erupt constantly, sending fountains of lava miles into the sky. Its surface is painted in yellow, orange, and red, a tortured landscape reshaped every year. Europa, a smooth white world covered in cracked ice. Beneath that ice lies an ocean, deep enough to hold more water than all of Earth's oceans combined. A world that just might, harbour life in the warm darkness below. Ganymede, the largest moon in the solar system, even bigger than Mercury, a world of ice and rock with its own magnetic field and shimmering auroras that dance at its poles. Callisto ancient, scarred, a silent world untouched for billions of years, its craters telling stories older than humanity itself. As we pass through Jupiter's orbit, its gravity tugs at us, massive, powerful, overwhelming. But slowly we slip free, leaving the giant behind. The bands of gold and copper fade. The great red spot dims, the moons retreat into the distance, little glowing pearls circling a titan. Ahead of us, in the far dark, a delicate ring begins to shine. Fainter than Jupiter's storms, but elegant, mysterious, unforgettable. Saturn, a world wrapped in beauty like no other. As Jupiter disappears behind us, the darkness ahead feels deeper, quieter, almost empty. But in that silence, something faint begins to glow, thin, delicate, shimmering like dust made of light. At first it looks unreal, like a fragile halo suspended in space. But as we drift closer, the shape sharpens, the glow intensifies, and suddenly a world wrapped in elegance reveals itself. Saturn, a planet that looks less like a world and more like a cosmic artwork. A pale golden sphere surrounded by rings so wide, so thin, so impossibly perfect that they feel like they were carved by an artist's hand. The closer we get, the more breathtaking the details become. Saturn's rings aren't one single arc. They're thousands of individual bands woven together like threads of glass, some bright as polished silver, some dark as charcoal, all made of countless ice particles, from tiny grains to chunks the size of boulders, orbiting the planet like a frozen river in the sky. Sunlight hits them and scatters into soft beams, casting pale reflections across the darkness. Shadows of moons cross over the rings, stretching into thin lines that drift slowly across the curves. Below the rings, the planet itself glows softly, wrapped in hues of pale gold, honey, and gentle cream. Unlike Jupiter's violent storms, Saturn feels calm, peaceful, almost sleepy. Its clouds ripple in smooth bands, soft stripes flowing around the globe like gentle waves. Thunderstorms do form here, but they move quietly from afar, their lightning hidden deep beneath the haze. We drift closer until the rings stretch across our entire view. Up close, they look like a silent, glittering ocean, billions of icy pieces each following its own path, never touching, never stopping. The gaps between the rings, like the famous Cassini division, reveal regions cleaned out by Saturn's tiny moons, those little sculptors of gravity that carve and maintain the perfect patterns. And speaking of moons, Saturn has many, dozens, each one unique. The most mysterious of them all appears as a glowing orange sphere covered in haze. Titan, a world with rivers and lakes, not of water, but of liquid methane and ethane. A world with rain, clouds, and weather under an atmosphere thicker than Earth's. A world where something alien, something strange, something new might quietly evolve beneath the smog. Farther out, another moon gleams like a cracked pearl, Enceladus, small, icy, brilliant. Jets of water vapor burst from its surface like geysers reaching into space, evidence of an ocean hidden under its frozen shell, perhaps warm, perhaps alive. We drift around Saturn one last time, circling the rings as they glimmer in the starlight. Then slowly, softly, the giant fades behind us. The rings thin into a narrow line, then a glowing thread, then nothing. Ahead of us waits the cold frontier, a place where sunlight becomes faint, where worlds grow dark, where storms move silently across frozen skies. The outer planets await. As Saturn fades behind us and its shimmering rings become a thin silver line, the space ahead grows colder, darker, and strangely quiet. Sunlight now feels weak, no longer a warm glow, but a distant, pale spark barely strong enough to cast shadows. We are entering the realm of the frozen giants. Uranus, the tilted world of ice. In the darkness, a soft turquoise sphere begins to glow, calm, smooth, almost featureless. Uranus, a planet that rotates on its side, tilted so drastically it looks like it was knocked over long ago by a cosmic collision. Its color, pale blue-green, comes from methane in its atmosphere, absorbing red light and reflecting cool shades of winter. There are no swirling storms here, no bright stripes, no violent patterns, just a silent, frozen world wrapped in thin rings and circled by dim moons that drift like tiny ghosts in the dark. Uranus feels peaceful, almost shy, a quiet giant at the edge of sunlight. But beyond it, a deeper blue waits. Neptune, the wind, spirit of the deep. Neptune rises from the darkness like a sapphire burning slowly in cold fire. Its color is richer, darker, mysteriously deep. A world of roaring winds and restless storms, despite being so far from the sun that warmth is almost non-existent. Here winds reach the fastest speeds in the solar system, strong enough to circle the entire planet in just hours. A dark storm, like an ink-black spot, twirls across Neptune's surface. Bands of clouds sweep around it, their shapes bending in the thin light. And orbiting this frozen giant is Triton, a moon that orbits backward against Neptune's rotation, as if captured from the distant Kuiper belt. Its surface glows pink-white, and geysers of nitrogen shoot into space, whispers of activity in a region where everything should be frozen still. We pass Neptune, and the sun now becomes nothing more than a bright star behind us. Its warmth barely touches this far. Ahead lies the true frontier, the Kuiper belt, the silent snowfield of space. Tiny icy worlds drift here, Pluto, Makemake, Haumea, and countless frozen bodies older than the planets themselves. Pluto shines softly as we pass, a small world with a heart-shaped glacier, mountains of ice, and an atmosphere so thin it fades in and out with its seasons. This region is quiet, calm, ancient, a cosmic snowfield stretching for billions of miles. Dust particles drift like frozen ash. Invisible currents of gravity pull softly from distant stars. And then one final boundary appears, the heliosphere, the last breath of our sun. The solar wind, the invisible bubble created by our sun, grows weaker here, thinner, until eventually it stops. We are at the edge of the solar system, where the influence of our sun fades into the dark sea between stars. The interstellar wind presses gently against this boundary, forming a cosmic shore where two great oceans meet, the solar wind inside and the galactic wind outside. Beyond this point is the unknown, billions of lonely stars, clouds of dust, worlds we have never seen, darkness deeper than imagination, distances measured not in kilometers, but in years of traveling at the speed of light. And yet, here, at the very edge, our solar system feels small and astonishingly precious. Every planet, every moon, every storm, every ocean, every living thing exists on a single delicate thread of light stretching back to the sun. We float in silence, letting the stars drift around us like slow-moving diamonds. The journey ends here, not with noise or spectacle, but with a soft truth. Our solar system, vast and ancient, is just one tiny island in a universe without end. But what an island it is!